This morning on Inside Kansas Politics.
One, I think you got to split the Chiefs and the Royals. They're two different entities.
The battle continues over the Kansas City Chiefs and Royals. Missouri moving swiftly to make their offer.
And I think by the end of the year, we will have something on the table that'll be just as good, if not better, than Kansas.
Will Kansas stand a chance? The latest on negotiations this morning. Plus,
Republican, Trump conservative, family man.
A new ad coming down in the race for District 2. It's the first coming from Jeff Kahrs, the message he's sending to voters. And the Kansas Supreme Court now ruling on 2 abortion restrictions, how their decision could impact the state. And that's where we start. You're taking a look inside Kansas politics. Welcome in. I'm Rebecca Chung. The Kansas Supreme Court now ruling to reinforce access to abortion in the state. Now, the court rejected a policy that banned dilation and evacuation, a common second trimester procedure. The Kansas Supreme Court also struck down laws regulating abortion providers more strictly than other health care providers. The big question now is, what does this mean for people in the state and maybe even outside the state who are seeking an abortion? Political analyst Bob Beatty is here with me now. And Bob, we've already seen an increase in people coming to the state to get abortions. Let's take a look at some of the numbers we found. So let's pull up the graphic here. Now, this is from the Center for Open Science. In 2023, here are the top 5 states people came from to get an abortion. 6,720 people traveled from Texas to Kansas to get an abortion. 3,310 came from Oklahoma, 2,860 from Missouri, 570 from Arkansas, and 180 from Louisiana, according to that report. Now, Bob, how could this ruling for the Supreme Court have an impact on what we're seeing here?
Well, I think we can expect to see people from other states where it's very difficult, if not impossible, to get an abortion come to Kansas. And this is what many of us thought would happen if Roe v. Wade was overturned, that some states would allow abortion, others wouldn't, and then people that could would go to those states. And so abortion would not be eradicated, it might shift. Now, there's still going to be people from states where they cannot access abortions that simply won't be able to get them. But it makes perfect sense that if Kansas does allow abortions, that you look at those states, that people are going to come here. And so it's very possible, yes, that we could actually even see those numbers increase.
All right, and then let's also talk about the 2022 vote to uphold abortion rights in the state. Now, I know some abortion advocates probably thinking it all ends here, but of course, that really wasn't what that vote was about. It was about saying who is able to regulate abortion in the state, right, Bob?
Yeah, the interesting thing about that vote in 2022, first, the results were totally unexpected. You know, we see votes in other states now and we think, oh, it was a foregone conclusion in Kansas. It was not. It was a big shocker. Actually, the anti-abortion folks, proponents, they're the ones that wanted that vote. They're the ones that actually wrote the language. So by giving that context, what I'm trying to say is that the people who voted no on that constitutional question, I think most of them knew what they were voting on, which was, should the right to an abortion remain in the Kansas Constitution? Because if it went to the legislature, which is what it was all about, most people understood that the legislature, if they didn't outright ban abortion, would make it very, very difficult. And there was millions and millions and millions of dollars spent on the campaign, so I think people did know that. So yeah, you're right in that it was about who would be in charge of abortion, essentially, and that vote was whether the legislature should be in charge. That didn't mean they would ban abortion, but many people that voted to keep it in the Constitution believe that they would.
All right, Bob, and then also we've seen laws passed since the 2022 vote setting new restrictions for abortion that are now being challenged in court. So what can we see play out based on the Supreme Court's ruling now?
So yes, so what the Supreme Court did was reaffirm their earlier decision, which is there is a constitutional right to bodily autonomy in the Kansas Constitution. Interestingly enough, they also talked about some other regulations, even one from going as far back as 2011, and actually threw those regulations out. And what the Kansas Supreme Court said is that anything involving regulations on abortion clinics would be under strict scrutiny, meaning that they're going to look at them very, very carefully. So to answer your question, I think it is going to be a little more difficult for the legislature to pass these regulations and then have them actually enacted into law. Some of the regulations that have been passed years ago still are either tied up in the courts or the Kansas Supreme Court threw them out. So yeah, the anti-abortion proponents are saying, you know, see, we told you so. We told you there wouldn't be lots of regulations. There's still a number of regulations on the books, but indeed it might be a little harder after this ruling.
All right, thank you, Bob. Well, we've got a lot more to get to after the break, including this.
Well, I don't think any question. You look at all the options on the table.
Missouri is speeding ahead to get negotiations moving for the Chiefs and Royals to stay on their side of the state line. How could their plans stack up to Kansas? Is there a chance the teams will stay put? We'll be right back. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
Community creates possibility. Grace Mann was blessed to have Andover Middle School volunteer to help us by assembling dental care kits for our dental outreach program, which provides no-cost dental cleanings and screenings to more than 40,000 Kansans each year. And these kits are given out to encourage dental hygiene. Thanks to the combined efforts of Andover Middle School and Grace Mann, we were able to assemble 18,000 dental care kits in one morning. This is what is possible when we come together as a community.
We have all been touched by the support of a caring nurse, a professional who is there to help in trying times. 27 KSNT and Baker University are passionate about the services nurses provide. We want to recognize the heroic work that they do every day for their patients and their families. And we need your help. Visit KSNT.com to nominate a deserving Kansas nurse. Each month, a winner will be highlighted on TV and online. Nominate that special nurse who has made a difference in your life. Sponsored by Baker University.
When it comes to bikes, here's what you want. Reliable, fast, and tough as nails. That's what you get at OCC. And after a crash, that's what you get at Devon James.
Paul Sr. knows us well. We're the Kansas law firm motorcyclists have counted on for years.
We work fast to get you the best results. We're tough where it counts, fighting for you.
Reliable, fast, tough as nails. These are the guys that I'd call. Devon James wins. 888-8888.
Crown Toyota, celebrating 30 years of quality service.
See what sets us apart.
Come experience.
Come experience.
Come experience the Crown difference.
Get into a new Toyota Tundra, now 1.99% for up to 48 months, or get up to $2,000 cash back. 2024 RAV4 models now 4.99% for up to 60 months. The all-new 2025 Camry models are here. The thrill of the road perfected. Schedule a test drive today. Visit Crown Toyota, 3400 South Iowa, Lawrence, Kansas.
Welcome back to Inside Kansas Politics. I'm Rebecca Chung. The battle over the Chiefs and Royals continues. Here's the latest from the other side of the state line from our sister station in Kansas City as Missouri's governor tries to strike up a deal with the teams.
And I think by the end of the year, we will have something on the table that'll be just as good, if not better, than Kansas.
After the April sales tax extension was shot down by Jackson County voters, Parson would like to see the Chiefs and Royals split when it comes to funding.
It's one, I think you got to split the Chiefs and the Royals. They're two different entities and two different business adventures here that we're going to be talking about.
And Jackson County legislator Sean Smith agrees.
Splitting it makes sense. It really depends on what the kind of macro financial arrangements are and who's going to kick in what.
One of the challenges to keeping the teams in Missouri is the support of County Executive Frank White. Parson thinks that splitting the teams will change his mind.
I think things have changed since that. You know, we were trying to do the initial one with both of them together. Now you're going to split them apart. So now let's see if there's a plan in place that's good for the citizens of Jackson County and get Frank on board if we can get him on board.
The arrangement right now has the state and city contributing considerably less money than Jackson County, while each receiving tens of millions of dollars in tax revenue. White released a statement to Fox 4 about his meeting with the governor, reading in part that the financial burden of supporting the teams needs to be shared between the city, county, and state.
And I think him coming out here today shows a level of urgency to try to collaborate and make something happen. I hope the people on the other side of this building will be collaborative. That's something we've struggled with.
The other side of the building being Frank White's office. And only on Fox 4 we spoke with the governor after leaving the meeting with Frank White, sure that the options the state can offer will get White on board.
I think there's options out there, so I feel good about it. So we just need to try to figure out a plan and try to move forward. But I think that can be done.
All right, that was Jacob Sloan reporting. Now, Bob, the saga continues. Some strong words from Missouri's governor over there, and he thinks the teams will choose to stay if they build a stadium district instead of Kansas's plan for a stadium district and a dome stadium. So let's talk about it. What do you think?
Well, I'll disagree with you a little bit. I heard a lot of I thinks in there, and you know, we should, and you know, compare that to Kansas, which held a special one-day session, as you well know, and got it done in like the snap of a finger. The governor signed it, and boom, you know, the incentives were there. What we're seeing is this play out in Missouri. That was a really interesting piece that we just watched, because we saw all the moving parts that have to come together or be split apart. The Royals, the Chiefs, you know, Jackson County Executive, the state. Keep in mind that Kansas, the state, dove in with a relatively simple Star Bonds plan, and it swept through in one day through the legislature. It didn't go through all these different machinations. There were some complaints about that, right? And so what we're seeing in Missouri, it is more complicated. It does not mean it won't happen. And I do think the Chiefs probably and Royals would rather stay on that side of the line. But you know, the devil's in the details, proof's in the pudding, all those cliches. Missouri is going to have to put all those parts together in a way that the Chiefs and the Royals can be confident that they'll actually get their money. And what could that look like? Could it look like a plan like Kansas's? Do they have that same ability? They don't have it. They would have, you know, and I didn't hear him. They could do something similar. What it sounded to me like, though, was that Missouri was not willing to do what Kansas is doing, which is the state stepping in and saying, here, we can offer basically $1 billion. We still have Jackson County involved, and that's where you saw Frank White, the executive there. He's very concerned that the Jackson County citizens will still be paying too much money here. The other X factor is a possible vote. Again, keep in mind that Kansas, again, people complained, does not have to go through a vote to fund these possible stadiums. It's very possible that Missouri might have to go through another vote to do so. Okay, so it could be a little tricky. It is very, very tricky. It's not impossible, but yeah, there is some urgency on the Missouri side. You'll notice there's still, even the governor is still saying, I think. Whereas in Kansas, we're sitting back and saying, no more thinking. We got this. It's done. Ball's in your court. All right, Bob, thank you so much. Election season is underway and candidates are hitting the campaign trail. Next, the latest on local races and an update in the race for District 2.
Jeff will continue to stand with President Trump.
A new political ad coming from Jeff Kars. Candidates in the District 2 race are setting the tone for their campaign. Their message as they hit the campaign trail. That's still ahead. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
It just keeps getting worse.
These are telltale signs that water is shifting your foundation. But it's okay. We got it.
Oh, this is done growing in this house.
Okay.
Cracking drywall is just one sign your foundation is compromised, but you can. Put water back in its place with a free inspection from Foundation Recovery Systems. For a limited time, get $500 off any repairs when you call or go online today.
Air not blowing, pipes not flowing, bulbs not glowing? Blue Dot Heating, Plumbing, and Electrical can fix it all. Our experts are at your service 24/7. After 65 years, we are proud to be the only 24/7 emergency provider for HVAC, electrical, and plumbing in Topeka. We offer several 0% interest options or even extended terms with low monthly payments. We have plans to fit your needs and your budget. So call Blue Dot, one call for all your home comfort needs at 785-272-1633.
For over 75 years, we've been serving loyal customers and have been a trusted name in the automotive industry. Performance Tire and Auto is here for you.
Whether you're looking at high-performance tires for the best ride or budget-friendly all-season tires, we're here for you.
We have 2 convenient locations, well-trained technicians, and service staff that genuinely want to help you take care of your vehicle. Performance Tire and Auto is here for you.
Honesty and transparency is our #1 goal. Trust Performance Tire and Auto and experience the difference. We're here for you.
Y'all hear us blow out the subwoofer?
It's TV's biggest morning party, live with Kelly and Mark.
Boom, boom.
Big stars and big surprises. Plus,
are you rooting for me or against me?
Don't miss the fun on the #1 entertainment talk show.
You think the other talk shows complain about us? They're like, it's too loud over there.
Weekdays at 11 on 27 KSNT.
Welcome back to Inside Kansas Politics. I'm Rebecca Chung. We're turning now to local races, and Democrats are trying to get their name in front of voters, Bob. These are for Senate and House races. So we have panels taking place, of course, but let's also talk about the political makeup of the district they're hoping to represent. So do they stand a chance in these districts, and what will they have to do to win over voters?
So I really enjoy primaries because, you know, they tend to be low turnout, and you might say, oh, that's not good. But what that means is the candidates have to go knocking on doors. They have to go walk around the districts, and that's going to be really important. So what we have locally in the Topeka and outlying areas is House District 58. It has a Democratic primary, hotly contested, and Vic Miller, the minority leader for the Democrats in the Kansas House, he's now running for Senate, which we can talk about as well. So that left an open seat. And his communications director, Alexis Simmons, throwing her hat in the ring. And for a while, we thought maybe there's not going to be a Democratic primary. Wendy Damon Bednar is now opposing Alexis Simmons. So that should be a very closely contested Democratic primary. And I should add that there's, of course, a Republican, Michael Matheson. But this is a very heavily Democratic district. Laura Kelly won it in 2022 with 68% of the vote. So, yeah, is it possible a Republican can win in the general? Maybe, but I really think the action is in this Democratic primary among those two candidates.
So you think there's a chance? Is there anything in particular the Democrats would need to do to win over the district?
Yeah, I think they're going to win the district. Vic Miller, it was his district, and he's the minority leader. So what we'll be watching is this primary. And this is one of those seats, of course, that Governor Kelly and the Democrats think they have to win because to break that supermajority, they're going after some Johnson County districts where they may not win. So this is one that they have to win. And so really, we have these two candidates, Alexis Simmons and Wendy Damon Bednar, and you might say, well, what are the big issues? Of course, there's issues. Abortion is going to be a big issue in a Democratic district, but a lot of it's going to depend on those two candidates and the messaging as they're going literally door to door and how much effort they put into the campaign.
Okay, so focusing on those main issues and making sure they just, keep along that steady path, because this is a district that Democrats can win over.
That's correct.
Now, if Republicans wanted to turn this around and maybe try to win these particular districts, what would they have to do to win over voters?
The numbers aren't really with them. There's another district, which is Senate District 19. And that brings us to Vic Miller. Now, many people watching the program today, they say, Vic Miller, I know that name. That's because he's been in politics for a long time, which has its pros and cons. And that, Rebecca, that's a heck of a primary. So you got Vic Miller, the House Minority Leader. And again, we're on the Democratic side. You have Patrick Schmidt. And again, viewers are like, I remember that name. That's because Patrick Schmidt ran for Congress just 2 years ago and lost to Jake LaTurner. And then we have a newcomer, Shamika Sims, who's a civic activist in the area, in the district, very active in the neighborhood associations. So I'm going to be watching that race very, very closely. There's already been a little bit you could call tension between Patrick Schmidt and Vic Miller at one of the forums over abortion. And this is another district that is basically a Democratic district. So again, most of the action will be in the primary. However, there are two Republicans who also have a primary, Cynthia Smith and Tyler Weebly. And so whoever wins this hotly contested Democratic primary will then have that Republican opponent.
And fill me in on the drama over abortion that we're seeing.
Well, in the earlier segment, we talked about that 2022 abortion amendment. It showed 60% of all Kansans, expressing that they didn't want the right to an abortion going to the legislature. It was a surprising vote, but in Democratic districts, that's going to be an issue where the majority of the people in those districts want access to an abortion. So the tension between Miller and Schmidt was Patrick Schmidt said that Vic Miller had voted basically against the interests of those who want access to abortion, essentially. And Vic Miller said that wasn't true. So in a Democratic districts, I think we're going to be seeing abortion, education, and health care being the main issues. In the Republican primaries, it may be more focused on even possibly immigration issues, spending issues, and tax issues.
All right, Bob, thank you so much. Well, the race for District 2 is heating up. Jeff Carr's dropping his first political ad. We'll have a look at that after the break. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
The summer savings event is on at the Mattress Hub, and now is the time to save big. Find huge savings on the best brands in sleep. Serta, Beautyrest, Sealy, and more, all from $200 up to $800 off, with hot buys as low as $299. Only at the Mattress Hub.
You know, I've been trying to find the best way to tell you how good our breakfast is here at Perkins, and I found the best way to do that is to show you. Come try us. Come back to see us. Come home to Perkins. Your table is waiting.
Quality cabinetry you can count on. Located in the heart of the Midwest, Custom Wood Products is built on a foundation of great work ethic and trust. Here is where a quality product is built by talented craftsmen and women combined with the latest in technology for precision and material optimization. At Custom Wood Products, we are proud to stamp our name onto our cabinetry. From the detailed design work to focus on quality in those details to on-time delivery every time, you can take comfort in knowing you have the best in performance and style.
It's back. County Fair Dealing Days, brought to you by Briggs Auto Group. Fair days mean fair deals on over 1,000 new and used Buicks, GMCs, Nissans, Dodges, Rams, Kias, Subarus, pre-owned, even Heartland truck beds and accessories. County Fair Dealing Days at all Briggs Auto locations.
Hey, look what's going on at Briggs Auto.
As soon as I called Devon James, Dustin was very empathetic, helpful in the situation, told me that he was happy we called and that he would handle everything from there. What makes Devon James different is they take particular care in each person's case. They understand that there's unique needs to each person, sometimes that they need extra care, they need a little more empathy and encouragement, but overall they know that everything's taken care of and in their hands. You should call Devon James because they make it perfectly simple and easy.
Well, Jeff Carr's is the latest Republican vying for District 2 to drop his first political ad, shaping the message he's sending to voters. Here's a quick look.
Jeff Carr's. President Trump chose Jeff Carr's to help lead his fight for the America First agenda. Proven Republican, Trump conservative, family man. Jeff will continue to stand with President Trump to shut down our borders and keep drugs and violent crime out of our neighborhoods, to save our children from radical liberal policies that threaten them, and stop the crippling inflation facing our families.
I'm Jeff Carr's, and I approve this message.
All right, Bob, now we have three big players releasing their ads for this race. What are your thoughts on Carr's ad and what message he's sending to voters? And then let's also talk about the other ads we've seen.
Sure. Jeff Carr's is the third Republican primary candidate to start running an ad, and they have to run these ads. They got a little bit less than a month until August 6th, and it's not just having the ad. They're going to have to find the money to run them over and over and over. And the reason is because Derek Schmidt is the front runner by name recognition. He's been around quite a long time in Kansas politics, and Sean Tiffany and Jeff Carr's just are not very well known. Carr's works for Jake LaTurner. He's worked in Kansas politics a long time, but his name has not been on the ballot. And so it's a difficult climb for Carr's. I think it's a good first ad. It's what we call an intro ad. He looks good, and you know the messaging is right there for a Republican primary. He's hitting all the right notes. Interesting part is right off the beginning, Donald Trump is there. And we're going to see maybe this battle over Trump, even though he won't endorse anybody. Derek Schmidt, was endorsed by Trump when he ran for governor, and we may even see that in one of Schmidt's ad. ads. But right off the bat, Kars tried to show, position himself as the possible Trump candidate, even though Trump has not endorsed anybody.
And do you think they have enough time to bridge that gap? You talked about Derek Schmidt being, the front runner in early polls that we were seeing. However, do they have enough time, now that we're inching closer to the primary election, to really bridge that divide?
That's a really good question, because Jake LaTurner dropped out, the incumbent Republican congressman dropped out in almost late April, and these candidates jumped in pretty quickly. I think they have enough time, and so the big question I would say is, do they have enough money? That sounds callous, but really to cover a lot of ground quickly in the 2nd district, they're going to have to blanket the district with TV ads and radio ads. And again, to overcome that Schmidt name recognition advantage. The other problem, Rebecca, is if we consider Derek Schmidt the front runner, according to the one poll we've seen, he's at 44%, so he doesn't have 50%. But the other two there could be the danger for them that they divide that anti-Schmidt vote. So if it was just Jeff Kars or just Sean Tiffany, maybe they would be able to garner all of that we don't want Schmidt vote. So there's a possibility that they actually split that too. So they're really going to have to differentiate themselves, Tiffany and Kars.
And then also a large portion of undecided voters. How would they be able to appeal to them? What sort of message should they be sending to those voters? What could sway them?
So they have to differentiate themselves from Derek Schmidt. I think most voters, they're Republicans, they know Derek Schmidt pretty well. We got to know him pretty well in that governor's race. So if they're saying they're undecided, they're probably saying, hey, we're willing to take a look at Sean Tiffany or at Jeff Kars. Then now Kars and Tiffany have to, make themselves memorable and give them a reason to vote for them. We've seen Sean Tiffany. You've talked to him in interviews. He's establishing a very clear persona, the cowboy, and a little bit shocking. And that may work. Kars is going a different direction, very much with Donald Trump. We'll see if that continues as they release their next batch of ads.
All right, Bob, thank you so much. And that was your look inside Kansas politics. We wanted to leave you with a quick note. Inside Kansas politics will be taking a short hiatus due to network shows on NBC. On July 21st, IKP will not air due to the Open Championship. Then from July 28th to August 11th, IKP will not air due to the Olympic Summer Games in Paris. And finally, on August 18th, IKP will not air due to Premier League soccer. Make sure to follow us on X and Facebook for more show updates. Have a good day.